This is LT Melton with FetchYourNews.com, and we're here with Sam Snider, head coach of the Gilmer Wrestling Program. Coach, obviously you guys are the defending state champs in traditional as well as duels. Talk a little bit about this season. You have a bit of a young team. You only have 2 seniors this year. Talk a little bit about what's been different this season as opposed to previous years.
Probably depth level is a little bit down. We've got a very large junior class, a very talented sophomore class, but not have as many seniors. You're looking at juniors and sophomores filling in slots that we had filled in with seniors last year, and so you don't have that backup sophomore and that backup junior. So we're a little lower on how deep we can go. That also, when you have an injury, has a bigger impact, obviously. So for our team this year, when you had 12 seniors last year and 7 of them starting, and the rest of them could have started for most people, now you're having to make sure that you get every kid in the right weight class.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that. With the duels and the traditional, obviously it's different. You can move around a little bit.
Right.
How does that affect your strategy going into dual meets?
Well, instead of having maybe 4 or 5 places I might bump up or move around, I'm just more limited. I have to be confident in probably 10 or 12 of the weight classes, and maybe there's one decision I would make. Now, as far as resting them early in a tournament, if we have the match wrapped up, I can do that still. But just having to count on some kids who haven't been in the fire and seeing how well they can improve and do that. And the season has done a good job of testing them and preparing them. So we're actually excited about the kids that we have out there.
Now, speaking of the season, you guys have wrestled in some pretty prestigious tournaments here lately. You went to Pigeon Forward over the holidays, and most recently at Archer, where there was just a slew of state champions and high caliber teams. Talk a little bit about the growing process that these young guys are having to go through.
Well, the Pigeon Forge we didn't go to last year because it just fell in our final week, and we didn't want to miss our finals and make the guys be behind. But this year it fell on a great day, Monday and Tuesday before Christmas, and it was on a beautiful new facility. And so we went up there, and we knew we had a few areas that we were going to have some holes just because of sickness, and everybody had been sick. And yet, on the first day, I'm the one that winds up being sick. And so my son, Coach Snider, Coach Wingo, Coach Wingard, they worked together. And except for a mistake in the 5th match, we were 4-1 on the day. The 5th match we lost due to a bad decision, not by the ref, by one of our wrestlers. We came out of that very good. And so the next day, we actually still had a chance to make the finals and wrestled very well. Went 2-2, wrestled and beat a 6A team and a top team out of Virginia, Grundy, Virginia, and lost a close one to Wilson Central. And so we were excited about the way that they performed. And so we wound up, I guess maybe we were 3-1 on that second day. But anyway, we wound up going 7-2 and placing 5th because we missed the big pool. That was a good challenge. And then coming into Archer, I really don't know what I was thinking. As one of the top teams in Georgia, you want to be at that tournament to represent the state of Georgia as you bring in teams from Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina. You bring in all these top teams, and Archer hosts this 38-team tournament. For where we're at, it was outstanding to be the second Georgia team to place because it was Archer and then Thompson and Baylor. I don't know the exact order, second and third, and then us. And to be ahead of Commerce and Social Circle and Collins Hill and all these teams was awesome. And I just thought it was a testimony to our kids fighting through every match.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned just the caliber of athletes and wrestling programs that were at Archer. Like you said, you were the second highest Georgia team to place. When you have the young team that you have, when you don't have that senior leadership you can rely on, what does that do for the confidence of these kids as you prepare yourself for the area duels coming up?
Well, we did something the past few weeks a little bit different than in years past. We've asked them to consider who in the junior class, who in the sophomore class are your leaders. So instead of putting it just on Jamie and Will's backs, our 2 seniors, we've had them recognize kids who are leaders in the other 2 classes below there. And so now you can see several sophomores, I mean, I could name them, who are rising to the occasion. You can see several juniors who we've sent out there to do some of the captain duties at matches at Pigeon Forge. And you can see them starting to hold each other accountable. So I think we're building more leadership in the young men. I think that comes to probably a bigger question. Me being an educator, you get the question of, well, what's important in education?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to say that what we're doing is important in education. The band has a hierarchy of leadership.
Right.
We have a hierarchy of leadership that is grown and built. Our country has a hierarchy of leadership. And the things that are learned in extracurricular activities, band, sports, chorus, drama, whatever there is so valuable to the school system that we never want to lose sight of how important it is to support all the areas. And that's what we've been learning. And we've been helping to produce doctors and lawyers and pharmacists and physical therapists through our wrestling program. We've had some of the top students in the school. And if they aren't the top in their grades, some of them are doing better in school because of wrestling. So I think the leadership is just a growing thing, and it's deeper this year because we don't have as many seniors to carry that load. We've counted on younger guys to carry that load.
So they kind of share that responsibility.
Yes.
You feel that guys are stepping up, much like when a star athlete is hurt, or so to speak.
Right. Then they're just waiting for that opportunity. The second string kid on a football field, if one guy's going both ways, sometimes the second string guy would be better going one of those ways,
right,
because he's fresh. And we found that as some kids have been hurt or banged up or something, when we take that young kid, and he is a step behind, he is a point or two behind the other
right,
kid. When we put him into that role, and he now has a chance to shine, they will. They didn't come and join a wrestling team to sit on the bench.
Right.
And so we have a lot of course, JV tournaments, we have a lot of varsity tournaments. But the things we were in over Christmas helped us to see some other guys shine. I'll throw out a name. Drew Dyer has made 128 twice because we needed him at Pigeon Forge. We needed him at the archery tournament. And he stepped up to the plate and scored points for us.
Right.
And he's a great wrestler, but he's only a sophomore. But he has a great desire to lead because he's a born leader. He wants to lead. Matthew Waddell and Levi Seabold are two sophomores who, my goodness, Levi went through the brackets and got to the finals, lost to the state champion from Archer. And Matthew took on one of the best wrestlers in Tennessee and wound up being third anyway. Just outstanding sophomores. And then my whole junior class, I think they're just looking for the opportunity to lead. They're all quality kids who work hard and just excited about them.
Now, with that responsibility, do you feel that maybe there's more pressure on them to live up to the expectations of the Gilmer program, which is basically reached a level of state championship or bust?
I think it gives them ownership, which gives them confidence that it is in their hands.
Right.
We start off the year with a little bit of, okay, it's going to happen anyway mentality, instead of, if it's going to happen, I've got to make it happen. So we pushed hard on the idea of, it's 0-0, you have to go get the takedown. You're down by a point, the referee's not going to give it to you. You have to go earn it. So this is a life lesson. Once again, you can't always teach in the classroom, but because our school is dedicated to sports, education, band, extracurricular, everything, because we care about the whole kid in Gilmer County schools, we're seeing these developing leaders occur and the ability to just go take what is yours. We're not in a society where we're supposed to be socialistic and everybody gets the same.
Right.
If you want something, go earn it. Well, that's what we're trying to teach in wrestling. If you want to be successful, we're going to give you every opportunity to earn that right.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because with that success, how do you fight off that sense of complacency? Like you said,
right.
Well, we just going to do it. How do you get them to focus and see that, no, we aren't just going to do it, but as you said, we have to go out and earn it?
Right. Well, we don't schedule a light schedule. We schedule a very hard schedule, so the reality is put right in your face when you lose some tough matches, and that makes kids hungry. What's really cool is that every 4 years we're cycling.
Right.
You know, and in reality, as far as starters, you're cycling every 2 or 3 years. So the kid that's been waiting in the wings, he normally doesn't have that entitlement, complacency going on.
Right.
He's normally like, I've been waiting for this, and I'm going to go get it.
Right. It's my turn now.
It's my turn. It's my opportunity. And so I think the complacency occurs maybe in the community more than in the kids.
Right.
And sometimes it can happen in us coaches. We have to look at it as a fresh new year every year. Somebody asked me, I guess it was Morgan County's coach invited me to meet a guy who had coached in college several times, and we were talking Saturday. He said, Coach, how many times have y'all won in a row? Well, I had to go back and think. But 2010 doesn't matter to this group.
Right.
2005 doesn't matter to this group. This group of kids in this society, in this nation at this time, are so much about now. To get them to understand tradition is hard.
Right.
But it also doesn't put pressure on them. There's more pressure on me and my staff.
Right.
Because we have lived this whole tradition. For these kids, they're going out there to try to win.
Right.
So I don't think it affects them as much. Now, if you ask me the same question in 2007, 2008, 2010, I think at that time kids did look more at, hey, this is Gilmer wrestling.
Right.
We can't let this go down.
Right. Right.
It's just a different kid.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, because these kids now, everything is so quick, so fast. This generation, it's, the internet, social media, everything is right there at their fingertips. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you specifically about your coaching staff. I'm glad you mentioned them. I noticed at tournaments that, obviously, especially individual tournaments, you guys have to, sometimes split,
right.
Coach here, coach there. But you guys also have, like, Coach Wingold is your, your big man specialist. Everybody has their specialty. Talk a little bit about how your coaching staff and the way you guys manage your coaching styles.
Wow. I try when we're getting to the 220 heavyweight is to push Casey Wingard up there and say, Casey, these are the guys you work with. You coach them. When we're in a neutral situation, I try to make sure that Greg, his voice is heard because he can see things so much better. They let the elder statesman have a seat. They let me have a chair, which is really nice. But there are times where I step back and stand and put them up there because they may have a better relationship. So it really comes down individually for each kid. There are things that, since me and Greg have been coaching the longest, we see things after 20-something years each coaching. But Joshua will come up with something and Casey will come up with something that's so helpful. And how to deal with referees is an art.
Right. And
we help to keep each other from doing something stupid there. But this is a fantastic group. I mean, we're already getting great kids from what Bo and Walt do. Mr. Berry does our youth. And so the kids understand coming up what's expected. And now we're just simply trying to hit the highlights of what they need to hear.
And to follow up on your staff, you lost a good friend of yours. Yeah. I mean, well, you didn't lose him, right. But he's still around. Coach David Henson, longtime part of your program. You recently faced him. It was you guys' senior night. You could see it was emotional. Talk a little bit about losing Coach Henson to Fannin, and just talk about that relationship and when you faced him, and knowing you'll be facing him in the future.
Well, me and David are close, and I look forward to having dinner with him and his lovely wife and my wife in the near future, because he's doing very well. My son Joshua for 3 years had instituted a better middle school program and had grown it to a point. And thankfully we stole Joshua away. We stole him away because he lives less than a mile from the high school now, and so it's a great opportunity. His wife works here. But then out of nowhere, I hated to see David Henson leave, and yet I wonder if God has a plan. Nick Nisolowski's the head coach at Gainesville. He wrestled for us. Austin Powell's coached state runner-up teams in South Carolina. He wrestled for us. There's Coach Henson, Southeast Coach of the Year. Fannin County deserves a quality coach. And for me to talk my son Joshua to come over and for them to pick up David is a very positive thing. And I, being separate from David Henson's program, can see great improvement
Right.
in the areas that I know David Henson has worked on. He's in the middle of it. He can't see it
Right.
as well. Just like I can't see the improvement on our team as well as somebody from the outside. So I'm just trying to encourage David, because I know that Fannin County Wrestling is going to be morally sound, fundamentally sound. They're going to be trained well, and they're going to be a force to reckon with in the near future, because David Henson is a very competitive man. He's a great man. He's a godly man, and he will get a lot of things done. So I'm thankful for the staff I have. I'd love to hoard them all.
Right.
But there's not enough teaching jobs to do that. But David's going to be very successful at Fannin.
So your tree is a little bit like the Bill Walsh tree in the NFL, it seems.
I wish it was, I wish I could take credit. But it just seemed like kids who came through and they got something out of it. Mm-hmm. And then they like to teach. Some of them are community coaches placed. I know Joey Robinson did some community coaching for a while.
Got a few referees.
Yeah, we got a lot of referees. My son David even coached with us for a year here. It's fun to give back, and that's what they're doing. And so, yeah, we're getting a little bit of a tree going out there, and who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have more of these kids that are involved in coaching elsewhere.
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. You have the area duels coming up. What are some of the teams that you expect to maybe not give you fits, but be one of the teams that challenges you for the area title?
Well, last year I felt like we could have walked into the area and we would have won if we'd had a bad day.
Right.
At state, I felt like we had a great challenge with Cass, but we had the kids that could handle it. This year, with some of the youth and having a couple key injuries before Christmas, we have to have a good day.
Right.
Northwest Whitfield is a quality team. We beat them on our senior night, but we had everybody in place.
Right.
Heritage is a quality team. Lafayette will be a tough team. There are some tough teams out there. And if we're not on our game, no matter how many times we've won in the past, we will not walk through this region unscathed. So we have to have everybody clicking. And right now we're nursing a couple of sicknesses. A couple of kids were out yesterday sick, and we're dealing with all those things. But our kids rise up for the occasion. They don't ever back down. They refuse to lose. They stay off their back. And so I feel like we're going to do well. But I do know the reality that there are other teams that are as good as us, especially, like I said, Northwest, and I think throughout the state, there are several teams that are high quality. So it's going to be a dogfight all the way.
Now, and I'm glad you mentioned comparing obviously last year's team and how you felt going into the area
Right.
to propose to this year. I remember last year you guys wrestled very few. I don't think you even wrestled in the individual tournaments until after area. Was that more scheduling this year, or was it because you knew you had a young team, so you wanted to get them in some individual tournaments?
It was purposeful in some ways. For the past couple of years, we focused so much on duels. We wanted to have more depth. If I'm going to wrestle in a 2-day period, I'm going to wrestle 8 duels.
Right.
I can get more than 14 kids matches.
Gotcha.
If I wrestle a 2-day individual tournament, a kid might get 2 matches and he's done.
Right.
And it's only 14 kids I can enter. I can get more matches for more depth, and that's why our junior and senior class and sophomore class is better long term because of what they did the year before. We did schedule the Archer because of the shift in the state, and that weekend opened up, and Archer hosted this huge tournament. So
Right.
it's high quality, and we may drop one of our dual tournaments for next year and pick up another individual. There is benefit to individual tournament because you're going to, the higher up the ladder you go, the higher quality of kids you're going to face as
Right.
far as technique. And so where we may miss some of those in some duels, we don't miss them in individual. You're going to face the best.
Right.
But I don't ever want to get away from the idea that the team duel is important first, and then we'll go after those individual things after we've proven what a team we are. You get those teams that have 6 amazing wrestlers,
Right.
and they can win a traditional tournament, but they never really buy into getting the other 8 ready to go.
Right.
Cameron Perry, for example, last year made all the kids around him better. He wanted to make the kids beneath him weight class wise and the kids above him better. Johnny Flakes was going to win state no matter what. He's just a man among children. Daniel Bautista, he just did a show at the state. He helped Levi to be where he is today.
Right.
We had a group last year that, because of so many duels, understood that they were going to make each other better through that.
Now, when you have your duels, obviously, but you also have that eye on traditional, how do you, maybe not switch gears, but how do you focus on guys that maybe will help you in duels, but maybe not even make the state tournament, and then you have to kind of focus on getting those guys that can win a state tournament or place in the state tournament, but still coaching those guys that will help them?
Right. Well, there's two things on that. One is, thankfully, we have what's called a JV state, which has become sophomores and juniors who just couldn't crack the lineup, who wind up winning that.
Right.
So we have a good team we'll send to that, and it's the week before area traditional. And then our main varsity will go to a regular tournament in preparation for region traditional and sectionals and state. But it is a mindset of where can a kid be the most successful. Now, what I found is the kid who doesn't buy into the team flounders at traditional.
Gotcha.
If they never cared about the team as much and they're just looking for their own glory, when they lose one round, they won't fight back for third.
Gotcha.
And it'll kill you at the state. So thankfully for our history, we've had kids who I thought had a great shot of being in the finals, lose a tough semifinal match, 30 minutes later, suck it up, and realize that these guys were counting on them, and they fight back for third. Justin Carr is a great example of that. I just thought his toughest match was the semis. If he could have got past the kid in the semis, he was going to win the state.
Right.
And the Shepherd kid just had his number. And somehow it just came down by a point here, and he lost, and I knew Justin was devastated. Justin went back, spent a little time, got himself together, come back and got third, because that's who Justin was. He knew the team mattered a great deal. So we've had kids like that all the time. And I've seen teams who failed in the state semis of duels almost go home. Just not even fight back for third.
Right.
They didn't understand that it's a pretty big honor to even place at state.
Right.
So it's important.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time, and good luck throughout the rest of the year.
Well, thank you for all your coverage. Thank you for filming stuff and putting it on, because I know a lot of people watch it and they enjoy seeing it, and it means a lot to us.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.